To our kind delegates, honored guest speakers, and to everyone else here on this platform, welcome to the second day of our fifth Metrofinance Congress. But before we start, I would like to acknowledge first the presence of our faculty, Mr. Sir Rolando Fernandez. We are glad to have you here, sir. Um, Also, shout out to all delegates from our in-house partners from PUP CAF Student Council, PUP JPA Manila, and PUP Econres. Also, hello to our delegates from east of NCR. We have JFINEX PL Mar, New Era University JFINEX, Rizal Technological University Pasig JFINEX, DIP QC JPAMA, and DLS CSB Antipolo JPA. Say hi to our partners all the way from Mindanao, from Xavier University JFINEX, LaSalle University JFINEX Misamis Occidental, JFINEX Ateneo de Davao City, and of course, our ever-dashing delegates from PUP Department of Financial Management. Hello, guys. And for today's event, I am your host, Lawrence Abalia, the second-year level representative of the JFINEX PUP. And today is the day that you will all be empowered to embrace your future in aiming to be financially techno-literate with the aid of this exclusive breakout session with the topic Financial Technology. In this session, we will be joined by two distinguished guest speakers focusing on the topics Financial Toolbox and Finance Solutions for e-payments. But before that, I would like to request the delegates to please open your camera to be more attentively for you to be actively participant and to be more focused. Ayan, I can see from Xavier University. Ayan, chat in your school and your organizations. Ayan, from JFINEX PUP, from PUP Econres. Ayan, so dumadami na ang ating mga delegates. And now joining us today as well to moderate our session is the Junior Officer of Committee of the Junior Financial Executives PUP. To introduce to us our first guest speaker for the topic Financial Toolbox, let us all welcome Kirsten Roberts. Let us give her a burst of reaction.
Thank you, Lawrence. Our first topic deals with essential financial tools and digital investment softwares that will serve as a medium to assist us with our financial needs and help us build better financial habits. To help us with that, we will be coached by this amazing guest speaker. She is a graduate from De La Salle University with a management degree majoring in marketing. Having been awarded with Latin honors, she is also a recipient of an annual academic recognition award. Currently, she works as a global investment analyst at Cloud Art Ventures. Now that she has her own team and working side by side with co-chairman Edward Lee, she advocates on bettering the lives of Filipinos through improving the country's financial literacy. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Miss Eira Pena.
Hi guys. Should I just share screen? I'll just share my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Do you guys see it? Is there something blocking ba the screen or kaya naman?
You can see it clearly, ma'am.
Okay. All right, let's start. So, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Again, I am Eira, and I'm here to talk about Financial Toolbox. So, specifically, the different online tools that you would need and also how to use them. So, okay, start tayo. Oh, no. Okay. So, before we start, pag-usapan natin yung mga tools. Start muna tayo sa tatlong W. Yung why, yung what, tsaka yung where. So, first the why. So, sino nakaka-relate dito? Yung 3 favorite words natin paggagastos, diba? Add to cart, salamat Shopee. Yung kaka 5-5 sale pa lang, hindi ka pa nakakaipon, isipin mo na ulit anong pwedeng bilhin sa 6-6 sale, diba? So, sigurado akong maraming nakaka-relate dito. Pero, kapag tinanong ko kung ilan na nagtatabi ng pera para mag-invest every month, patay tayo. Siguro, konti na lang matitira or mas konti pa sa kalahati. Which leads me to my next slide. So, the next slide is the likelihood of each type of person to achieve financial security. So, the first, the spender. Syempre, unlikely kasi lahat ng pera na pumapasok, lumalabas lang rin agad. And next, you have the saver. So, yes, it's possible, but later I will tell you why it's not sustainable. And the third is the investor. So, of course, most likely they will achieve financial security. But because they do not only save, and they find investments to help their money grow. So, it's not a shock naman to see people choose to be the spender because spending is fun, you know. I like shopping for things. But it's also important to be able to save. Kasi sa school, as a finance student, kung hindi ka finance student at least, di naman tayo tinuturuan kung bakit natin kailangan mag-invest. Or paano mag-invest. Or ano yung mga benefits na kukuha natin pag nag invest tayo, di ba? So, pag-usapan natin bakit natin kailangan mag-invest. So, the why. The first is the time value of money. So, ibig sabihin nito, your money devalues over time. So, kapag tinago mo yung pera mo sa cabinet, sa ilalim ng kama, o kahit sa bangko, diba? This will not help your money grow. And over time, it will be eaten up by inflation. So, anong ibig sabihin ng inflation? In simple terms, inflation means yung pera mo dati, hindi na parehas sa value ng pera mo ngayon. So, kung dati, 100 years ago, noong 1920, yung 100 pesos mo, makakapagpatayo ka na ng bahay, di ba? Pero ngayong 2021, yung 100 pesos mo, mabibili mo na lang siguro ng Chicken Joy. So, it's important to protect your money's value. And then the second is building better financial habits. So, this helps you form the discipline that you would need. So, ito yung pagtatabi ng ipon para ilagay sa investments. So, it's a misconception that you need a lot of money to invest. Because no matter the amount, it becomes habitual. It's still gonna be progress. So, mahirap sa una, pero kapag nakasanayan mo na rin, mas madadali na rin siya. So, the third is the magic of compounding. So, Albert Einstein actually calls compounding the eighth wonder of the world. So, it's when you reinvest back your earnings and now you will have more capital working for you. Pero anong ibig sabihin ng reinvesting, right? Ibig sabihin ng reinvesting, yung binabalik mo yung pera na kinikita mo sa stock market. So, as you can see on the right, when you invest 50,000 pesos and then you reinvest your earnings, in 30 years, yung 50,000 nyo, magiging 579,500. So, magic nga talaga, diba? Pero, pag walang compounding and reinvesting, this would actually be cut in half. So, instead of 579,500, approximately makukuha nyo na lang 289,000. So, it's really a big difference. And you can see how important compounding is and how important it is to start at a young age. So, this gives you more years for your money to compound. So the last, of course, is to make money. Ba't ako mag-i-invest kung mawawalan lang rin ako ng pera? Dapat ginastos ko na lang, diba? Pero of course, you have to be careful because it's a possibility. And I have to remind you, and I have to emphasize that each investment has its risk. So hopefully the information, the tools, and the framework that I will be talking about today will help you avoid these mistakes. So next slide, punta naman tayo sa what. So these are the different investments. So first is the saving. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with this. Ito yung pag iniwan mo yung pera mo sa bangko. So the traditional bank will only give you 0.25 to 0.75%. So as investing becomes more sophisticated, ngayon meron na tayong e-wallets like GCash, diba? GCash has G-Invest. And also different digital banks like CIMB, ING, Tonic, Discartec. So these would give you about 2.5 to 5%. But something to note is these are actually just marketing promotional efforts. So they just want you to try their product, then after, tatanggalin lang rin nila to. So it's important to note. And then the bonds would be debt instruments with a promise to pay back the money with interest. So meron tayong treasury bond, government bond, and you can get this at any local bank. And of course, you have the mutual funds and stocks. So stocks are type of security that represent ownership in a country. And essentially, mutual funds are just a basket of stocks, so different kinds of stocks, managed by a portfolio manager who is a professional in the field. So this would be good for people starting out and you're not sure what stocks to choose. So you have a professional handling it for you. And I'll be talking more about this later. And the last, of course, you have your cryptocurrency. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Bitcoin. So a decentralized digital currency based on the blockchain network. So the keyword here is decentralized. So walang authority, right? Walang nagbabantay. So extra caution when you touch crypto as it could be very dangerous. Huwag kayo maniniwala sa mga nagsasabi, sobrang dali kumita ng pera sa crypto. Yes, you can earn money fast, but you can lose money even faster. I'm not saying you should not invest, but it's really up to you. And I'm saying to trade with caution since now you know it's a high risk type of investment. So you could trade this on Coinbase, coins.ph for local, and Binance. So now that you know the different kinds of investments, I'll tell you what we advocate for at COL Financial. So of course, at COL Financial, we advocate for people to invest in the stock market. So why stocks? So as you can see on the right, stocks actually help you beat inflation rate. And it's one of the few ways that you can beat inflation. Time deposits and savings are below the inflation rate, while the annualized return of the stock market is 8.5%. But of course, this does not guarantee future results, that it would be producing the same results again. But how can you earn in the stock market? So as a shareholder, you're given voting rights and claims to earnings. So there's two ways you can earn in the stock market. It's through capital gains. So this is the swing in share price when you buy a stock for low and then you sell it for high. And of course, dividends. So this is when the company decides to distribute some of its earnings, although they're not always required to do this. So the reason why we encourage the stock market investing is, again, the reason on the right. So just to highlight the importance. So now let's move on to what platform you can choose. So of course, the trading platform you should choose should be legitimate and reliable, which is why, of course, I would recommend none other than COL Financial, the leading online brokerage in the country. It's a very user-friendly platform. So even if you're first-time users, this will be easy for you to use. And the requirements are, okay, let's look on the right. The requirements are the TIN number, you need a valid government ID, and accomplished online form. So ngayon mas madali na because now everything's online and you can sign up online. So on the upper right-hand corner, you can see the website where you can sign up. So yeah. And for the starting capital, you'll only need a minimum of 1,000 pesos and you can start investing already. But I'm sure some of you have already heard the 8,000 peso rule. So the 8,000 peso rule is because of broker fees. So anything below 8,000 that you would trade, you would be paying the same amount of commission. So the maximum would also be dependent on your comfort level because it's advisable for you to cover your living expenses first, as well as your debts before you start investing. So this is what the homepage looks like. It's very straightforward. You have multiple tabs here, and this is the homepage where you can see research, any announcements, and news from the Philippine Stock Exchange. And on the right, you can see where you can type the ticker to see what the current price is, where you can buy and sell, and also the most active stocks for that day. So let's try to, I'll show you guys an example. Let's try to sample trade. So, okay, we go to the trade tab. And then we go to enter order, where you can place an order. So if you want to buy a stock, you can click buy or sell. And then for Jollibee Food Corporation, their ticker is GFC. So you would need to input that on the stock code. And then the number of shares, which is 40, for example, and the price that it's trading at. Oh, so let's say to 10. It would show you or reflect the total amount. So in the middle, you have the bid and ask sheet, where you can see the buyers, the bid sheet, and the sellers, which is the ask sheet. So let's try to make this simple now. Think of it like a market. May taga-bili, tsaka may taga-benta. So kunyari, ikaw yung bibili. Of course, as a buyer, you want to get it for as cheap as possible. So anong gagawin mo? Siyempre, hihingi ka ng tawad. Pero yung magbebenta, syempre gusto niya mas mahal ibenta sa'yo kasi gusto niya mas malaki yung kita niya. So if you guys don't agree at the price, there will be no transaction. So it's the same with the bid and ask sheet. You negotiate and you meet each other at the price that you're both happy to transact at. So here, the bidder, the buyers, want to buy it for 207.2 pesos and the sellers want to sell it for 207.4 pesos. So here you would need to meet at an equilibrium. So now that you know how the bid and ask sheet work, let's move on to the right side where you can see the information of the stock. So the different movements in price for that day. So what I really look at here is two important things, right? So yung volume. So of course, you want a lot of volume. You want a lot of people trading it so that there's liquidity in the market. Second would be board lot. So here in the Philippines, we have a minimum. And this is the minimum number of shares that you can buy or sell in the market. So those two are the more important ones that you have to take note of. So now that we were ready and we've laid the foundation of what we can use and what kind of investments there are, we can now open our toolbox. So let's go straight to the tools. So the first tool I have for you is not a site or a software, but it's the most important one, and it's a framework. And it's going to be your structure when investing. So you can think of this as your checklists. So there's 4 things under your checklist, which is number 1. Your checklist for number 1 is fundamentals. So what are fundamentals? This is the qualitative and quantitative aspect. So ibig sabihin nito, you look at your business model, right? Do they have earnings? Ano yung storya ng company? Gusto ko ba siya tingnan? Is it a good company overall, diba? The second would be technicals, which is the fun part of trading. So this is your charting, your candlestick reading. It's knowing when to enter and exit a certain stock. And the third would be your sentiment. So your sentiment is your overall gauge of the market. So is it trending up? Bullish ba siya? Or is it trending down if it's bearish? And of course, the last thing on your checklist, you still need to account for your risk. So this is your potential upside or your potential downside. So this is when you should profit take, you can cut your losses. But then these are for the more active traders. But before entering a stock order, you should check all the 4s: fundamentals, technicals, sentiments, and risk. So let's talk about fundamental tools first, and what you can use to check if the stock that you're looking at is actually worth looking for. So first you have the PSE edge. So the PSE edge will be your best friend when you start trading or investing in the Philippine stock market. So here you can get the latest earnings reports, any major announcements, and On the right, you can even look for a certain stock. So for example, on the right, I chose Ayala Land. You could type its ticker, which is ALI, ALI, and here you could see the different information of the company. So you have the overall information, you could even see information about the management, the latest financial reports, latest disclosures, and even disclosures that they would give for dividends. So the next one I would have for you is Call Financials Equity Reports. So like I showed you earlier, there's a research tab where you can actually look at different reports from professionals. So one thing that's really good about COL is that they have really detailed equity reports where professionals give you their specific take on a stock. So medyo cheating yun na to, diba? Kasi this is broken down for you and even given you whether if it's a buy, if it's a hold, or if it's a sell. So the best part is that it's free as long as you're a call financial account holder. So definitely you can take advantage of this, and it's a very important tool. And it's under fundamentals under research tab at Call Financial website. So the next one I would have for you is the research, news, and websites. One thing I can tell you is that everything is connected. So even if you're just trading the Philippine Stock Exchange, even other exchanges like the US, Europe, they also have an impact on the Philippine Stock Exchange index. So it's very important to keep up to date with what's happening around the world then. So don't be like this meme. Don't base your investment decisions on meme stocks. So I'm sure alam niyo na kung ano yung Dogecoin, si Elon Musk. Yes, we love memes. They're so funny. But please still make informed decisions. So for the websites, we use investing.com, Seeking Alpha, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg.com, and Atom Finance. So these are all websites, but they're also available in applications. So if you want to add them on your phone to make it more convenient for you, then go ahead. So ngayon na alam na natin paano tumingin if a stock is good or if it's worth looking at and what tools we can use to research on this, move on tayo sa technical tools natin. So the technical tools, it's a very complex topic. You need to learn how to walk before you run. And we don't have much time to discuss the details of technical analysis. But this is a 4-part tutorial that shows you how to do your charting. And again, it's on the Call Financial YouTube page. And it's free. So you could just visit the page, type this title, or search for the link, which is on the right. So by the end of this, you should be able to know what a support and resistance are, as well as the different indicators that you can use to time your entry and exits. So the best part again is that it's free. So take advantage of this because as you can see in the comments, they give very good feedback. And once you've watched the video, I think you would understand more of the tools that I would show you later on. So if you feel like you already know how to do your fundamentals and you've watched this video and you're prepared to execute on your own, we can now dive into the different tools that you can use. So the first website that we actually use for charting is INVESTAGRAMS. So INVESTAGRAMS has its own website, but it also has its own app. So it's pretty easy to use. And what's good about this is it's very customizable to your own preferred settings. So this is what it looks like. And for the global markets, InvestorGrams doesn't really hold anything like that. So typically we would use these websites. So you have big charts, TradingView, and stock charts. So the sample here below is TradingView, and it's very similar to InvestorGrams. But what's good about it is that you can create your own personal lists, like the sample on the right, and you can even edit to your own preferred setting. So this is technically the setup that we use. So after the tutorial I showed you a while ago, you would understand more of this. So what is an EMA, what's a MACD, what's a DMI, and how you use them. So now that you know paano ko tumingin ng stock, tapos marunong ka na paano mag-chart, pwede tayo mag-move on sa sentimental tools. So the sentimental tools aren't softwares, but it's something that you can find on Investagram and PSE Edge, like what I've showed you a while ago. The overall index should show you the sentiment of the market. Is it going up or is it going down? So it's important to note this because if the trend of the market is on a downtrend, you wouldn't want to be in the market. It's better to be in a cash position than invested in the market. So an example I have for you is the Philippine Stock Exchange Index when COVID first hit the Philippines. So this was around March. Kung nasa stock market ka na, tapos hindi mo alam yung importance ng market sentiment, so syempre hahawakan mo lang yan, diba? Sasabihin mo, aakyat din yan, or baka bumili ka pa ng konti para mag-average down when you're already down 10%. Pero, ang nangyari is nag-sell off yung market up to 5 times of what I've showed you earlier. Tapos, masakit sa baba ka pa magbebenta kasi doon ka matatakot, right? So this is why it's important first to know the market sentiment before you start investing or even consider investing. So you also have your net foreign buying. So this is how much foreign money is going into the stock market. So obviously, if there's a lot of foreign buying, this would be a good time to be in the market. When there's a lot of foreign selling, you should be able to notice if you should step aside or not. So you also have your insider buying and insider selling. So this is usually disclosed in the PSE Edge, like what I've showed you earlier. So it's when owners are buying or selling inside the company. So if insiders are buying, this would be a good sign, right? So bakit sila bibili, diba? Might be because they might announce something big, or might be because the price of the stock they find too cheap already. But again, this does not guarantee the movement of the price that it will go up. And if insiders are selling, it means you need to be more cautious because why are they selling? Find out why they want to sell. Or is it something they do routinely? So again, this does not guarantee that the stock price will move down, but these are just guides that you can use to gauge the overall sentiment in the market. So last segment for the framework, you have the risk tools. So this is more for the active investor and those who want to become active traders maybe, right? So let's start with the risk tools. So here on the left, it's not something that's far off, but on the left is every beginner and every trader. Kasi nadaanan ko na rin yan eh. Yung sugat-sugat ako sa portfolio ko kasi puro talo. Back then, I didn't know the importance of cutting loss. If it's important to know the market sentiment, if it's important to fundamentals and the technicals of the certain stock, right? So eventually, you become the person on the right. Sige, di ko na lang titingnan yung computer ko next time. Mga 20, 30 years ko na bubuksan. Pero, it's important to know the risk still because some stocks never actually go up, which is why you need to know you need to follow your checklist. So again, risk management is very complex. And we don't really have the time to get into it, but again, I have an online tool that you can use. So this is a video on YouTube. It's also under the Call Financial YouTube page, and it just teaches you how to manage your risk as an investor. And I highly recommend this lecture. You would definitely learn a lot, especially on how to manage your portfolio risk. So here is the link on the left. And if you want to know more about the risk management, definitely just type the title of the YouTube page. So go ahead, screenshot, and after this talk, you could go ask for the link or my PowerPoint from the facilitators, but yes, definitely this YouTube video will help. And once you've watched this YouTube video and if you understood what a VAR is, so a VAR is your value at risk. So this is how much you are willing to risk, how much money you are willing to risk. So if you know how to compute for your VAR, pero kung kagaya ko, hindi kayo magaling sa math, kasi ako hindi ako magaling, may cheating ako. I use the VAR calculator on INVESTAGRAMS. So this makes computing your VAR much easier. So you could even tick if you're a conservative investor, if you're a moderate investor, or if you're more aggressive in terms of taking risk. So the next slide, I feel like, will be more relatable to you guys. So these are additional tools that you can use to speed up your learning and make you more confident about your investing. And these tools would be, the first one are investing books. So these are our chosen trading books in the company, which we feel like would really help you, especially if you're just starting out in the market, diba? Because it can get overwhelming. There are so many materials out there. So we've eliminated all of the noise, and we're here to teach you guys how to choose right mentors and right books. So these are recommendations: the Trading Code by Jason Kam, Finding the Next Starbucks by Michael Moe, and of course our in-house book, which is 5 Strategies to Beat the Philippine Stock Market by Juanes Barredo. And the last is by Mark Minervini. So he has 2 books: Think and Trade Like a Champion and Trade Like a Stock Market Wizard. So for our in-house book at Call Financial, you can definitely go send me an email. My email is on the top right corner of the page. And go ahead and message me and ask for the PDF version, the online version of the book. So definitely, I would be more than glad to send this to you. And it's important for you guys to read first before actually using the investing tools. So next would be your mentors. So these are online mentors that you can find online. So these are mostly social media pages. The one I chose for you specifically would be Twitter. So I'm sure all of you have Twitter accounts, or if not, it's very easy to make a Twitter account, right? So these are the suggested mentors that we follow. So of course, I'm giving you suggested mentors kasi maraming nagloloko out there. So maraming scammers. You have to be careful who you trust. Huwag kayong maniwala sa mga get-rich scheme, lalo na sa TikTok, marami dyan, di ba? But it's always better to listen to people who have the credentials and who have good intentions of sharing their knowledge. So of course, you'd want to follow the people who are genuine about sharing their knowledge. So please learn how to filter out the noise, which is why we at COL would recommend for local to follow either Edmund Lee or April Tan. We feel like these are very good individuals who are very seasoned in their field. So Edmund is a CEO at KLM Trading Institute and CTS Global, as well as CloudArk Ventures. So he's had experience in the stock market, years of experience, and you could definitely go follow him. And also April Tan, she's our head of financial research, and she gives really good advice on the current state of the market, or even where she thinks the market is trending towards. So if you want to learn more about the global view, or if you just want to learn more about different markets, diba? You can follow ARK Invest, Aswath Damodaran, Purusa Sena, and Richard Chu, to name a few. So these people are actively on social media and on Twitter, sharing and voicing out their advice to people, and also if they have any stock picks or what they think where the stock picks are going. So the next slide I would have is the trading community. So the trading community is very important because you want to surround yourself with people who have the same goal as you, right? So you try to learn ideas and exchange ideas with other people. And this is so important because even before, when I was starting out as a trader, I didn't know who to go to. I didn't have a group of friends that I can just ask, right? So now that you're already you already know how to trade, you already know the basics and the foundation of trading or investing, you can now exchange ideas with people. It can be a Facebook group, it can be a group of friends that you have that also invest. It can also be a Viber group. So here's the one I have for you, which is a Viber group. And of course, I would recommend none other than our chairman's community Viber group. So on this group, he does not only generously share learning materials, but he learns his insights on the market currently. So it's very good to be following this because you have a guide, you have a mentor. So he's had over 50 years of stock trading experience, guys. 50 years, that's twice my age. So you know that he's very experienced and good at what he does. And you could even ask your personal questions on the stock market, right? So it's a very good opportunity that I think you guys should take advantage of. So if you want to join it, again, it's free. You could just scan the QR code, which is EKL Learning Community on Viber, or if the QR code doesn't work for you, you can also go and click the link, which is bit.ly/learning with EKL. So if you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of the Viber group and the QR code, definitely go take a screenshot. Okay, guys, done. So okay. So last again, I would try to summarize for you what I've talked about earlier and all the checklists and tools that you would need for investing. So again, it's important to invest at a young age. Like I've said earlier, yes, shopping is fun, spending money is fun. I mean, I can obviously relate to that, especially in the time of online shopping. But again, don't forget to put aside money to invest. So it's always better to start at a young age. So it's actually good that you guys are attending these seminars and getting exposed to these opportunities because when I was young, I didn't have this. And I started quite a bit later, but I wish I have started sooner. So if you guys really want to invest in the stock market, go ahead and invest already. Like use the tools that I have sent you or like I've taught you today and incorporate the FTSR framework, which is again your fundamentals, how to look at a company, your technicals, your charting, your sentiment, the overall gauge of the market, and again, your risk, how much you're willing to lose. So once you have those four things in your checklist, you're definitely good to go. And again, enhance your trading. So these tools are just tools that you can use, but of course, you still have to take the initiative to invest, right? You need to learn, you need to read up on how to use them before actually using them. So definitely go watch the videos that I've showed you earlier because they're very helpful. So the last one would be, of course, choose the tools that are best suited for you. So again, these are still all recommendations, right? All the websites, all the softwares that I've showed you guys are all just recommendations. What might work for me might not work for you. So again, definitely choose the ones that you're more comfortable with. So that ends my talk and thank you for listening and definitely good luck on your investing. So we could take questions if there are any after this.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Eira Pena. I believe we have all learned such valuable information about financial digital tools and also the most important, the FTSR framework. That's fundamentals, technicals, sentiment, and risk. May I acknowledge we have here in our platform Sir Jed Velarde from Cole Financial. Yes. Hello, sir, and welcome. Okay, so moving forward to our open forum, may I request our dear delegates to enter your questions or concerns on the chat box below by typing question for Miss Pena with your name, your school, and your question. All right, so while we are waiting for our delegates' questions, Miss Pena, I have a question for you. So, among the various tools mentioned in your uh, presentation, which among those are the vital key foundations for achieving financial growth? and which is the most difficult to analyze and understand?
Okay, so that's a very good question because I think I showed you guys a lot. It might be overwhelming also. But definitely the more important ones that we definitely use day to day as traders would be your fundamental and technical tools. So, like I've said, it's important to know your fundamentals first. Because if you're gonna invest in, let's say, they call it a basura company. So, if you invest in a basura company, do you expect to get returns out of that? You expect to get good returns out of that. So it's very important to note that the company you should be investing in should be fundamentally sound. So it should be good. For example, like I used a while ago, Jollibee, right? If you invested in Jollibee at IPO price, you would have more than doubled your money actually. So Jollibee, no naman, is a very good company, right? So you eat their chicken joy, you eat their meals, and if you know it's a good company already and you personally are a fan of that company, it would be good to do a deeper dive on the fundamentals with the tools that I used a while ago. So at Call Financial, we also have equity reports that would show you if what you think is correct. Because there are professionals who are already kind of how do you say this? They're telling you that it's a good company. And if you think it's a good company too, then it would be very vital for you to click that button as long as there's, again, the technical tools, which is your charting. Is there an entry point for your trading or when you invest? So those are the two tools that we use, which is again fundamentals and technicals we feel are more important and more vital when it comes to investing. So yeah, did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Next question. How can we differentiate the risks and opportunities to be taken upon online investing platforms?
Okay, so again, the risk is important because you don't always win, especially in the stock market. In fact, a lot of people actually lose their money in the stock market if they don't know what they're doing. So it's important to know the risk. So I showed you guys the different kinds of investing also. So you have low risk, which is savings, but that the opportunity you would get from that is really low compared to, let's say, the stock market investing. It's in the middle. It's a middle kind of risk. And that way you can actually get a good amount of risk for a good amount of opportunity that you can get. And again, like I've said, cryptocurrency, right? It's a very high investment type of risk. So I would recommend that you guys know where it is in the scale before you start investing, but also know how much you're willing to lose before you start investing. So when I invest, for example, in a company, I already have my entry and let's say an exit point. Kunyari, Jollibee, if it hits 100, I'm willing to sell because I gained a certain amount of money. But if it goes another way and it hits 80 pesos, I'd be willing to sell at that price and I'd know how much I'm willing to risk because if I don't know how much I'm willing to risk and I just keep putting in money in the stock market, not knowing I can actually lose more money than I initially put in, then wala na, patay ka na, diba? Ubos ka na. So it's very important to know the amount of risk you would need and the amount of opportunity that you can get for that amount of risk. So again, if you have lower risk, you have to note that it's also lower opportunity. Like you're not gonna get as much as if you risk more, if that makes sense.
Next question. All right, so we have from Miss Kyla Tolentino. Do you have any idea po ba on how should one investor, especially beginners, should analyze which stock to invest in?
Okay, so like I've said a while ago, since you're investing in the Philippine Stock Exchange, it's actually easier for us to identify if these stocks are good. If you already like the company, like Jollibee or SM, right? You always go to SM malls and you already know that they're doing well as a company and they already are stable as a company. And it shows in their earnings, which is why I told you it's very important to look at financial statements. Again, you can find it on the PSE Edge. It's very important to know these because once they have the earnings, they become what you call a blue chip company, which is essentially the kind of companies that would give you stable returns because usually these companies would already have dividends, right? So it's very important to be able to know if the company is stable enough to give you these returns. But again, if you're investing in a stable company, you should also know that you're not going to get that much opportunity in terms of it's not gonna 10 times your money or 20 times your money. But you have to know that it's a stable growth. If you keep adding to it, you keep compounding to it, then in the future it would give you a big return. But again, it's important to know the fundamentals, your business model. Are they trying to grow still? Do they have earnings? So these are the at least the overview level of what you should look at when you're trying to analyze a company.
All right. Thank you for that. Next question. Let's see. From Sir Rolando Fernandez. Are there significant changes in the market practices during this pandemic?
Okay. So I think there definitely are. So when the pandemic hit and the stock market crashed, you could see that you need to know trends, right? Like I've told you, the sentiment. So this is when the market realized that brick and mortar stores, like let's say your malls or maybe retail, like shopping, like SSI and stocks like those, they won't do as well kasi lockdown tayo, diba? So we're not going out. So what businesses can benefit from the pandemic? So you think about it, it's usually tech, technology, or your different online tools, right? So this could even be Globe or PLDT. Kasi ngayon, everyone's work from home, everyone's doing their school from home. You actually use their services more because you're using Wi-Fi, you're using data. So you know that those companies would actually be earning in the future. So the stock market actually took account that these companies would do well during the pandemic, right? So you could see Globe, you could see Tel going up. Or in the US perspective, you could see all the technology companies, they actually shot up during the pandemic, while yung mga airlines, yung mga malls, they were still very cheaply priced pero walang bumibili, diba? It's not going up. Because you know that the value is in technology because that's what you're going to be using during the pandemic. So if you actually invested in the NASDAQ, which is the technology index in the US, you would have made almost 50 times your money, I would think, actually, yeah. So it's very important to know the trend and what kind of businesses excel during that specific time period also. So yeah.
Next question from Miss Marga Calso. Curious lang po, how much is your first investment and where did you invest it?
What was my first investment? Okay, so my first investment was actually in the Philippine Stock Exchange also. And I think it's not a good experience, guys. I'm going to tell you because I'm going to be honest with you also because it's not always like sunshine and flowers. So my first investment was actually with Costco. So this is SNR. So I invested a good amount of money, but I didn't know what I was going to lose because I did not take into account the risk. I didn't take into account the sentiment, or I didn't even have any of those FTSR framework yet. So when I invested, I lost about 30 to 40% of my money when I invested in that specific stock because I'm not saying it's a bad stock. I think it's also because I didn't take into account the FTSR framework that time. So it's very important to know the company you're investing in because that time when I was losing money, I was so confused. I didn't even know if I should get out of the stock, right? When you're losing money, there's so much emotions that go into it. So it clouds your judgment, right? You don't really decide because you think of how much you're gonna lose when you close your position. So it's very important to know how much you're going to lose before the trade or how much you're willing to lose before the trade. And it's important to know if it's actually a good company before you start investing in it. So that's my first experience. It's not great. but I hope you guys learn from it so you don't make the same mistakes. So yeah.
Thank you for that. So, next question is from Miss Christine. My question is, what advice can you give us that we may use in the near future?
So the advice I could give you guys is really to read up. Like, it's very important for you guys to know how the stock market actually works and what goes into it, because there are so many factors that go into the stock market before you actually use the tools that I gave you guys. And I think that the books that I've showed you, and also the videos that I've showed you, and the mentors that you can follow would definitely be of help. It would definitely be of help when you're starting to invest in the stock market. So reading is a very important thing, and you should be open to learn, because being open to learn means that you're willing to take in information and knowledge from other people. Kasi maraming traders or maraming investors, malaki yung pride nila eh. Like, they're not willing to cut loss, palagi silang tama, or especially pag umakit yung stock market, you could see the emotional and the psychological side of trading eh. So that's where it comes in. That's where your pride should be at ease, and where you should be open to new knowledge that comes in from different mentors that you would choose. So definitely I feel like the additional tools that I showed you in the latter part of the presentation would be helpful, especially when you start investing.
All right, thank you for that, Miss Eira. So, for our last question, question for Miss Pena. I'm Bree from PUP Santa Mesa. How are we going to urge middle to low class people to invest? How are we going to include them in this promising fintech era?
Okay, so like I've said a while ago, it's actually important to compound your money, especially when you are young. So, like I've said, hindi naman kailangan marami yung pera nyo when you start investing. You can start small because that's still progress no matter what, right? So, even starting small could actually lead you to a bigger amount once you reinvest and compound your money. So, I'll tell you a story, and this was back when I was starting out and why I also started out trading. So, my mom would tell me the story of this guy called Bo Sanchez, and how he helped his maids, yung mga katulong niya, to invest in the stock market. So he would take a portion of their money, even if it's just small, he would take a portion of their money and invest it in the stock market. And over time, he would continuously do this for them, until one day the maids opened their account and they realized that they already had millions in their bank account. And they were so shocked because they were like, how is this possible, right? How could I have millions when I'm just putting aside a small portion of my money or my salary? And that's when they explained that compounding is important, because once you start young and you start small, eventually lalaki rin yan eh. Kasi it compounds in the future. So that's when I actually thought of it like, oh, it's good to start young. Even if it's a small amount, you keep putting it in the stock market. Then eventually, if it grows in the future, you have more capital again to invest, right? So that's how I thought about it. And hopefully that perspective gives you guys an insight on why you should invest also.
Actually, ma'am, there's a pahabol pa na
Yeah, go ahead.
question. Okay, so this is from Odyssey. What do you think of the VW resources scandal back in the day? Do you think that we need more laws regarding the market, or we should let the free market run its course?
So again, guys, so these scandals and these um news that comes out, like bad news that comes out, usually these come from your speculative stocks, which are yung mga kwento na stocks, right? So again, it's important to know the risk, because if you're investing into a big company, like again, like I'll say Jollibee or SM or Ayala Land, these wouldn't have as much probability of getting these scandals or issues, because these companies actually handle those very well as compared to investing in yung mga kwento na stories lang, yung mga sinasabi sa online na you should invest here kasi yung kwento niya ganyan. So it's important to know what company you're investing in. And this this also plays into account the management of the company. Do you trust the people with your money? Because you have to think of it like an entrepreneurial mindset where would you invest that money, kunyari yung owner or yung CEO mismo pupunta sa inyo, tatanungin kayo, pwede ako pahiram ng pera kasi I want to grow my business and you can have shares, di ba? Pero if that person you don't trust already to begin with, or you don't actually think this person can lead this company into something big, why would you put your money in the first place? So same context goes for the stock market in that regard. So yeah.
Okay, that ends our open forum. Thank you so much for those who asked their questions. If you have more concerns or questions to Miss Eira Pena, you may send an email to jfinexpup.mfc@gmail.com and just put on the subject line questions and concerns to Miss Eira Pena. All right. Thank you so much, and we're glad to have you here, Miss Eira Pena.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really enjoyed imparting some knowledge. I hope it helped.
Yeah, ma'am, it really helps us, lalo na super magiging trend na yung stocks and all, na siya na yung parang future market na hinaharap ng lahat ng mga finance students and even non-finance students. Again, thank you so much, Kristen, for moderating the session, and most especially to Ms. Eira Pena for coaching us in that field of finance that is relevant to us and to our delegates. May I request Ms. Eira Pena to please stay for a minute or two for the photo opportunity and the awarding of the certificate. Now, may I call in the Vice President for Internal Affairs of the Junior Financial Executives PUP for the awarding of certificate and token of appreciation. Let us all welcome Ms. Dayan and Dean.
Thank you so much, Lance, and thank you so much to Miss Eira. To award the plaque of appreciation, allow me to read the citation. Polytechnic University of the Philippines, College of Accountancy and Finance, Department of Financial Management, Junior Financial Executive, Santa Mesa, Manila. This plaque of appreciation is given to Ms. Eira Pena, the Global Investment Analyst at Cloudark Ventures and Financial Literacy Advocate under the Office of the Call Financial Chairman, Call Financial. In grateful acknowledgement of her engagement and insightful academic contribution as resource speaker, imparting unparalleled knowledge and expertise on financial toolbox during the 5th Metro Finance Congress with the theme, Flash Deals, the Future of Finance, held virtually via Zoom on June 19 to 20, 2021. Given on this 20th day of June in the year of our Lord 2021. Signed by Giancarlo B. Hiromo, the President of Junior Financial Executives, PUP, Associate Professor Ria S. Fahilago, the Advisor of Junior Financial Executives, PUP, Associate Professor Bernadette M. Panibio, MBA, the Chairperson of the Department of Financial Management, and Professor Julieta G. Fonte, CPA, PhD, the Dean of College of Accountancy and Finance. Once again, thank you so much, Miss Eira.
Thank you so much, guys. I had fun. I hope you learned.
Now, may I request Ms. Eira Pena to please stay for the photo op. And guys, let us smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let us acknowledge once again Ms. Eira Pena. Let us give her a burst of reactions.
Thank you, guys.